Goal: Tunguska. A UFO history. Shortly after dawn on June 30, 1908, something from space struck Siberia. The explosion, recorded by seismographs even in the United States and Europe, was one of the strongest ever. For weeks, dust and debris kicked up by the giant conflagration colored the skies and sunsets from one side of the globe to the other. At the moment of impact, magnets went crazy all over the world, and numerous horses staggered and toppled to the ground in cities thousands of miles away. The area directly affected, that of the Tunguska River basin, was devastated on a large scale. Hectares of tundra were instantly covered with steam. Trees were felled within a radius of 40 kilometers, and branches and barks fell off the trunks. The forest caught fire. Herds of animals and some human settlements were devoured by the flames. The Tungusi who returned to the disaster sites found only charred corpses. That night in the whole of Europe, darkness did not fall. In London, it was possible to read the newspaper at midnight without the need for artificial lighting. In Holland, photographs could be taken of ships sailing in the Zuider Zee. Because of Tunguska's remoteness, the first scientific researcher arrived at the scene of the tragedy only in 1927, when Dr. Leonid A. Kulak, a meteorite expert from Petrograd, arrived there at the head of an expedition. 60 years later, the origin of the huge Tunguska explosion is still hotly debated. Was it an errant comet? Of a small mass of antimatter that struck and perhaps crossed the Earth? Or the nuclear generator of a stalled spacecraft that took a detour so as not to hit large population centers on our planet? Each theory has its proponents and presents its own problems. Certain witnesses questioned by Kulik and later by other scholars reported seeing a fireball with a tail, which could suggest either a meteorite or a comet. But if the object that struck the Tunguska Basin was a meteorite, what had become of the crater, and more importantly, the meteorite itself? Neither was found. And if it was a comet, why had it not been sighted before its arrival? Moreover, given that comets are predominantly gaseous, dirty snowballs, where did the immense energy that was released, which was estimated to be on the order of 30 megatons, come from? Experts in nuclear physics have long prophesied the presence of what they call antimatter, or mirror images of ordinary matter, but with a negative charge. However, antimatter, as we know it, is extremely short-lived. A small mass coming into contact with common matter would, in effect, cause a sudden and tremendous release of energy. But the hypothesis does not hold, because it is impossible for masses of antimatter to roam this part of the universe. The Tunguska event may have been caused by an extraterrestrial spacecraft, but again, decisive evidence is lacking. Some Soviet researchers have detected anomalous traces of radioactivity at the devastated site, others have not. Moreover, a possible spacecraft would have had to have been completely disintegrated in the explosion, because no unusual metal fragments were ever found.